Happy Sunday, YouTube family. So today's video is it should be about how to relay a wig after sweating it out yesterday at a Black Reptile Owners meet and greet, but it's not. It's actually about a hot topic that has been really hot this week. And so I wanted to share some expertise in the area and share some advice on how to not allow your animals to escape. First, I will say, just like our babies, when we have real children, it is our job to protect our animals because they lost that sense of protection by us taking them out of their natural habitats and raising them, and in some cases having them born into captivity, right? So we have to make sure that we do everything we can to protect them. But this video is by no means to tell you how to take care of your animals, so please do not take it that way. It's more to give you advice on if you're going to do X, make sure you do Z. So, I, for one, am not a person who is really big on taking my animals outside a lot. I do take them outside on my front and outside in my back within the vicinity of our home. But even then, if they were to inadvertently escape or get out of my arms, let's say that, not necessarily escape because they shouldn't be able to do that with me standing right there, but I'm very attentive to them the entire time, specifically with snakes. And my lizards, honestly, outside of being in a bin, has never been able to free roam outside or to walk out into the backyard with me because they move in a way that there's no catching them. So we're not there yet with them. And I'm not saying that it never won't be possible. I'm just not really into that, my Tagles, I truly believe I took them out back right now, they will stay close enough, but I also know that they can move really fast at fast pace. So why chance it, right? So I don't do that. The same for my snakes. I would take them outside, let them go in the pool, let them wrap around the deck and things like that. But I'm very attentive to them. So if there is a change in their body language that may indicate that they're about to go on the move, I can intercede that. I never take my eyes off them, though, ever. And I think that rule number one, if you're going to take your animals out, never take your eyes off of them. And you can't. For those of us who let our animals free roam in the house, specifically those of us who own reticulated pythons and lizards, we know that the moment we blink, that animal can be in a whole different location. And it's almost as if they sense that you have lost focus of them, and now they're taking that chance to make the break for it or go get into something. Most of the cases, my retics are not running away. They are trying to go find something to go mess with. And normally, you know where they are because there is destruction and noise within the path. So I am going to share, I have in here probably almost every type of enclosure for snakes specifically that most of us would keep our animals in. And I'm just going to share with some things that I do with my animals to keep them secured in their enclosure when we're not able to be attentive to them. All right, guys. So right now I'm in front of one of the reticulated python enclosures. And this is a PVC enclosure. It's an 8-foot enclosure. And this is my, hi Mystical, my tiger pod reticulated python. And he shed it. So I'll be taking him out soon. But for the purposes of this video, I want everybody to focus right here on this lot. So on all of my PVC enclosures, and right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 PVC enclosures. They all have the same lock. Why do they all have the same lock? When I got the first enclosure, which is right below, which is this one, and I'm going to talk about these doors compared to these doors in a second. This was the lock that the builder provided, and it worked perfectly so far. So typically I don't change what works. So don't change what works. Sometimes we see other people doing other things, and just out of curiosity, you want to switch it up. If it's just for aesthetics or cosmetic reasons, I get it, But for me, everything is about safety when it comes to my animals. I said this recently. I have some reticulated pythons that cost so much money that if they escape, I'm swimming through the next swamp to try to find them, okay? So let's avoid that, right? No risk to me, no risk to them. And I stayed with this particular lot. So, and another cool thing, when you have the same lot, all of these keys, except for, no, all of these keys work for the same lock. So it's a different key, different enclosure, different lock itself, but this key works for each one because it's the same brand. So I'm taking it off, turn it off. Now with reticulated pythons very specifically, I'm going to slide this door over just a little. So I want y'all to pay attention to, and bear with me because I'm kind of moving the camera around. So this is where I just slid the door, right here. All right, right there. So say for instance, I put this lock back on without making sure that this glass is all the way over. And when I say all the way, I do this, guys, to make sure it's not going to move. Why do I do that? I do it because if I can move this very strong snake knows he can too. All right. So, hi. Mystical's coming out to say hi. Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Little mommy, baby. Okay. I'm doing a video, Mystical. You want to be all up in it. Let me do the video. So, let me stand here. So, again, people, this is why when people tell me that snakes don't have feelings and emotions, this snake sensed that I was here. And my snakes have personalities. Each one of them have an individual personality. This is Mystical's way of asking me to take him out. And I am, baby, after the video. All right, so back to what I was saying. So this snake knows that if it's a little flaw, a little give in this glass, even with this lock being here, reticulated pythons specifically are wise enough to bump that glass and bump and bump and bump and put their head and move it, try to move it until this lock comes off some kind of way. And guys, I've watched them to attempt this on camera because in all of my snake rooms and on every reptile I have in this house, including the tegus and the lizards is in the garage, have their own cameras that views them 100% of the time, and it gives me sensory of any extra movement or if someone enters that room. I just get all kinds of notifications. It's for the animal and for myself. But you will see right here, facing the reticulated pythons that's on this side. I have, of course, snakes in that room. There's a whole other camera in there. I'll show you. But this camera will let me know whenever they're doing extra movement. So, look, I walked away and he's going back in. I love my babies. I'll be back. I'll be back, man. So this camera will alert me while I'm laying sleep on my phone in the bed. My phone will go off because it's connected to Wi-Fi to my phone. And then I also have what is called a digital, I can't think of the name, it's a word for it, but it's like attached to my dresser. So if I don't have my phone with me or I leave my phone downstairs or whatever, and I'm still in my room, I never leave my phone, but I'm still in my room, it will also alert me on that pad, on that tracking pad. So I've watched specifically the golden child try her damnedest to figure out how I open and close her enclosure, and will spend hours doing it. One night she did it from like 12 a.m. to like 5 a.m. Just sit there all night trying to, and this is the thing, she goes exactly where she sees me open it, trying to figure out how do she get to that lock. Now, granted, she cannot get to that lock from the inside. Now, talking about the difference of the doors I was saying, I prefer glass enclosure doors like these, instead of the acrylic. And let me tell you why. So, the glass enclosure literally is very heavy. And even when this snake is the size of T'Challa or Hefe, it's still giving them more resistance to move, because this is pretty heavy glass, specifically that this builder uses. Now, the acrylic doors, if I watch T'Challa, if I don't make sure, like we were just talking about, that the doors are completely closed, T'Challa can easily, if I don't secure this lock properly, get this door to lift just enough. All she needs is enough to get her nose in, and she's strong enough to push through. Or if that side is not all the way open, she just needs this much. Even this big snake. T'Challa is in her the best she can in her hide now, but this great big old snake need about this much. And then once it gets that give, she can get it open if this lock is not secure. So the key and the point I'm making, when you have PVC enclosures, you must have the proper lock, not just a lock. Stick with the lock that's worked for you. If you got multiple reticulated pythons and you've never had any of them escape using that specific lock, don't switch it up. All right, so now I'm gonna go show you what I have on some of the babies that's in tubs. Stay tuned. So now we're over here and I'm in front of my Mongoose Tiger tub. Now all of my reticulated pythons, she's hungry, but I'm not feeding her yet because she shouldn't be hungry. She just wants to eat. I don't feed her just because she wants to eat. I feed her when she needs to eat, by my calculations, because I'm the boss, right? So this is my Mongoose Tiger. First of all of my baby retics, until they get to a certain size, are in tubs. And again, if you look, this tub, all the same. These are the tubs that work for me when the Berm and the other retics were babies. So back to what I said, if it works, don't switch it up. I don't care if you see somebody with a cute little fancy tub. If that tub works for you and you've never had an escape, stick to what you know and stick with what works. Now, there should always be tubs that lock. So, and what I mean is lock. So when you hear that, that's lock, right? And you see me moving, it's not loose anything. I check this all the time because these things, if you don't check them, and again, she's smart too, they can get loose. And if they get loose, you have now breached security. So here, I have the lock. Of course, it's on both sides. Now on this side, there's also little clamps here. And what I've learned, because again, I watch them at night when the camera's on them. Even with those little clamps, if she realizes, I'm not going to point, because I really believe my retics pay attention to everything I do, and I don't want to give them no ideas. But right here, right here, on this side, you know, right here, this thing right here. So If she realizes that she can push her nose or her head and keep pushing just to get it to raise just a second, she's breached security. So what I've learned is to pay attention to them. I was whispering so you couldn't hear me. I know. I didn't want you to hear me though. So I take this, which is actually her washcloth, and take a 5-pound weight and sit it at the pressure point of this enclosure. And for some reason, each enclosure has a different pressure point. Same enclosure, but I'm not getting into that. I'm not trying to explain that. I'm not trying to get into the whole scientific reason of that because I don't know. So what I do is I feel the pressure point, and that's the point in which I can put pressure and I feel like it's a slight give, and that's where the weight goes. I watch them at night. They even know if the weight is there, don't even try. On nights that I don't put the weight on right away and I plan to come back and put it on when the lights and everything are being turned off, they'll try. So, again, pay attention to your animals. Stick with what works. Don't change up the game if it's no need. And keep them secured. One of my other biggest fears is if she gets out and somehow one of the dogs come downstairs to use the bathroom. Startled snake, startled dog. I have one of my dogs is a Rottweiler. That's all I'm going to say. And that would be a sad day for me and the animals. I would never want to put them in a situation where they feel as though they have to protect themselves from each other, right? So, all right. So that's how I secure the ones that's in the tub. Always worked, never an issue. And actually, I think Mystical stayed in the tub longer than most because his enclosure was being built when the glass was on back order during COVID, and he stayed in there a little longer than most and never was able to get out this way. So now we're going to go to check out an aquarium setup and a terrarium setup. Actually, two different types of terrarium setups. Stay tuned. Okay, so now we're in front of one of the terrarium setups, and I believe this one right here is a Zoomed terrarium, and this is where my corn snake is. So the key to these, and what I love about these, and someone mentioned it this week, is these come already self-locking, but there's some things that you need to be conscious of even with these. So there's a corn snake in here, a corn snake that has never escaped, and if you know, corn snakes are opportunists, but this corn snake has never escaped. He's in his hide right now, this little Nipsey. And you will see, let me move this real fast. Just set it over here for a second. On top of this enclosure, I'm going to open it so you can see. Okay. So right here, pay attention. I don't know if y'all can see it good. Let me bring the camera in some. Okay. So right here is a little door, and it's, I guess, basically used for feeding, and I've seen some people like run different cords through it, but I always make sure that this remains secure, because if not, even though I don't use it personally, that corn snake can slip right through this door. Now, the main functions of this self-locking top is just simply, it's two locks here. One that goes this way, one that goes that way. Now, also pay attention to the back of this door to make sure that there's no gaps or openings that was caused from constantly opening and closing. So basically, not much to say here. If you're using terrariums, good ones anyway. There comes self-locking, and the mechanisms are pretty good. Like, even if he tried to push, he can't push this up. It's my job to make sure it's secured here and secured there. I actually could put some type of tape over here if I wanted to, just for extra precaution, but I don't want to. So that's it pretty much for this one. Now we're going to move on to a front opening terrarium. Be right back. All right, so now I'm in front of one of the terrariums where I have one of my ball pythons in here. It's my ivory pastel, you know, my pretty all white one. I really love this ball python. And so the first thing you saw me do is pick this up. This is lock number 2. Comes with the terrarium. Extra security. I'm gonna sit that there. And then this is the main lock right here. And I twist it. Here, pop. That pop is important when you twist it back. And I'm gonna open it. All right, and then when I close it, listen for the pop. Heard the pop. I know it's secured, but that's not all I do. Because again, they're opportunists. I could have heard the pop and it was something else. I could have heard the pop and it was semi-secured. To make sure, what I do is I pull. All right. So once I see that, okay, that's secured, and unless my ball python is on steroids, I put the second lock on it, which goes right here. Again, all comes with the terrarium, and everything is secured. And you do that every single time you putting your animal back in the enclosure. Not some of the time. So that's one of the things. Sometimes we get too comfortable, right? These animals are very intelligent. You got to think about it. They can live in places that we could never survive. So they're very intelligent, very observant, you know, and we can't fault them for that. That's their survival instincts, their natural instincts, you know, to get to where they want to go. In some cases, you know, I might be feeding another snake, because there's another reptile room over there where my green tree python is, and my turtles. And then in a whole nother room over here is where all of my lizards are. You know, they could smell something and just be curious to see what that smell is and want to come out. I mean, it's natural instincts. We can be upset with the animal, right? But what we can do, because we're the owner, we invested in these animals, is to make sure that they're secured. So it's simple, 10-second double check to make sure we do this every single time we put them back. Now I'm going to go to one of my most complicated setups and tell you a story about this one. Stay tuned. Okay, so this one is my 75-gallon aquarium where I house my spider ball python, which he's been housed in this aquarium since probably after 6 months after I had him. And Busy, everybody knows, is my baby. That's my favorite. Busy is 6 years old now. Young Busy. So when Busy got around about 1 to 1.5 years old, I would say within that period, he escaped twice. The first time, we could not figure it out. And it was before I had a camera on Busy. Because Busy was the only reptile that I didn't feel a need that we needed to camera, right? He has a camera on him now. It's over there. You'll see it actually is a camera down over there. I don't know if y'all can see it from this angle, but I'll show you. It's a wide camera. The same thing I keep on my lizards. A little different from the ones on the Reticks. On the bigger Reticks, because that one picks up motion like very sensitively, and I don't need that for my ball pythons. But Busy escaped the first time, and what we paid attention to, so pay attention not only to when they escape, but where they go when they escape. So Busy escaped. He came down here some kind of way and went into the other family room and hid by under the chair by a vent. And that was during the winter time. The only time he's ever escaped was during the winter. He's never escaped during the summer. So you will see that Busy has, of course, the lid. Now this is not the original aquarium lid because this is just better for a reptile. He also have, I'll see if I can take it off. I got some extra ones somewhere, but I'm gonna have to take one of the weights off because he has weights up here. On top of Busy is 25, 10, 50 pounds of weights on top of his enclosure. I'll explain. Now, PVCs for my ball pythons, to me, is just a waste of money, right? Now, once my boas, who are over here, when the boas grow out of these 4-footers, then I will move the 2 ball pythons and the corn snake into the 4-footers. But Busy will always remain here because he loves this enclosure. We tried putting him in another enclosure. He loves it. I mean, and of course he has a lot of space. Busy is a good, believe it or not, you know, he's a good climber. He's a ball python, but he climbs and he likes to like climb up on here, and that's how he was getting out. So here, ergo these clamps right here, Busy would come up, push his lid before we had 50 pounds of weights on here, and then get just through enough to get the first tip of his body in, and then that was it. That was all you wrote. So once we put the camera on to see how he was doing it and figure that out, we figured, okay, put these locking clips in there, in the front and the back, and we added the 50 pounds of weight. And that was after the second time he got out. That's when we did that. So the first time we couldn't quite figure it out. We put a camera on him, and then we figured it out by what we saw in the camera and secured it with clamps here and here and put the 50-pound weights on him. And now Busy hasn't escaped in over 4.5, 5 years. So there you have it. It is our responsibilities to protect our animals. If we want to travel with our animals in our vehicles, now this is one I'm going to go hard on. And this is not just for the safety of your snake, but the safety of yourself. If you feel the need to travel with your animal to the vet, to the park, wherever you're going, let me show you what I use to do that. Stay tuned. Okay, so if I want to travel, and I'm going to talk about how with different animals, first, like my younger snakes who can still fit in a bag. I'll show you the bag. I keep these on deck. These bags come from Amazon. They're actually snake bags. So for the ones that can still fit in these, like a couple of the ball pythons can. Nipsey is a little longer now, so I haven't attempted to take him anywhere, but I doubt if he can fit in here anymore. And I'm going to say actually only one ball python could now, and that will probably be Kanan. Kanan has grown, but Kanan has grown fatter than longer, if anything. But you will put them in here, secure them in this bag, secure in the bag, and then every last one of my animals have their own personal tote. As you can see, Nipsey's name is on here. I will put them in a bag or pillowcase if it's one of the bigger ones, or large pillowcase if it's one of the bigger ones, or sometimes with T'Challa. T'Challa may not need to get in a bag, or Hefe either, and I'll just put them in there. They have very large tubs. Put them in there, lock the tub. I prefer, in most cases, to put in the bag, especially the smaller ones, because it's 2 levels of escapes that they would have to do. Then you will lay the bag in there, put the lid on the tub, lock. So if the snake got out of the bag, it still has to get out of here in a vehicle. The other most important thing about that, guys, is if you are in a car accident and an ambulance, a police officer, any first responder comes to your vehicle and see a loose snake and they're terrified of them, you know, it's kind of like some people saying, well, that's their job. No, it's not. Let me tell you something what my job is. I'm a regional property manager. And I always tell my property managers when I'm visiting their individual sites to don't be just pissing people off, because someone can come in here with a gun and shoot you and me, right? My job is not to get shot at work. That first responder's job is not to get bit by a snake. All right, so let's stay here. Stay here. Y'all back? We here? Okay. So that person's job is to save you, right? So if they do approach your vehicle, first of all, the snake is in the bag and it's also in a tub. Most likely, they're not even going to know it's a snake in here. And if they did assume, the snake is secured, so there's no risk to them. So they can give you the proper care and the proper time afforded to save your life. All right? And the lizards. The next thing is the lizards. So I will say this. I gifted this to a couple of the girls in my reptile group over a year ago, and most recently another person, because I love these bags. But this is what, if I'm going to take my lizard, now my Asian water monitor has already outgrown this, but my table still can fit in here. My Asian water monitor, I would put in a big tub, a huge tub for him. But my tables still can fit individually in these bags. So they have individual bags. I put them in here. We travel to wherever we have to go. If I want to take them out somewhere, I wait till we get there. When we get back in the car, they go back in here. Put them back in the car seat, lock, and I lay it this way. And I put the seat belt on here. Now, why do I do that? Again, if I have an accident, I don't want to, number one, let my tables, my lizards get hurt. And if someone was to come and see an angry little table, because my table's going to be angry if it's not me or my son, an angry table in a car, I just want to be protected, them to be protected and myself to be protected. And I want to make sure that, God forbid, my animals don't hurt anyone else or scare somebody to death. Like people are terrified to death of reptiles. Although we love them, everybody don't. So this is what I use for the lizards. So I hope this helps how to assist you, especially new keepers, and not having your animals escape. I hope you understand that if it worked, don't change it. Whatever that lock was, whatever that tub was, kind of be consistent in what you use with your animals. And God forbid, if you're going to travel in your vehicle, you cannot let your animal just be there free. Your animal has to be properly secured and ready for travel. There you have it. I hope this helps. Thank you. Have a great day.